In our headlines on this Tuesday, December 17th, here in South Korea. The Constitutional Court is scheduled to hold its first hearing next Friday and has requested a written response from President Yoon Suk-yeol regarding the impeachment trial against him. And prosecutors here have served President Yoon Suk-yeol with a second summons for questioning over his intentions to unilaterally impose martial law on the night of December 3rd. South Korea has included in its sanctions list over 24 individuals and institutions believed to have violated multiple UN Security Council resolutions in pursuit of a hostile weapons policy. We start with the latest regarding the legal proceedings by the Constitutional Court as it undertakes the impeachment trial of President Yoon Suk-yeol. Kim Do-yeon has our top story.
The delivery of documents by the Constitutional Court to President Yoon Suk-yeol has been made, but the confirmation of receipt is yet to be sent by President Yoon's legal team. This, according to the Constitutional Court on Tuesday, with the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chair of the Parliamentary Legislative and Judiciary Committee, and the Justice Minister confirming their receipt.
Yesterday, on December 16th, notifications regarding the filing of the impeachment adjudication request, the request for a written response and opinion, the decision to refer the case to preparatory proceedings, as well as notices of preparatory proceeding dates and attendance requirements were all sent out. The president is currently in the process of being served.
According to the rules, the president's legal team has 7 days to answer the documents, which were delivered via mailman, express mail, and an electronic system. But with the receipt of the initial documents not confirmed by the legal team, this could delay the proceedings at the court because President Yoon's team could claim that it didn't receive anything. Currently, a preparatory hearing has been scheduled for December 27th, but this is also in jeopardy of being pushed back. In the meantime, the court does not plan to broadcast the hearings live, according to the spokesperson. And when asked about whether acting President Han Duck-soo appointing 3 recommended justices to the court later on is acceptable, the spokesperson replied that it has been done before. After former President Park Geun-hye was impeached, then acting President Hwang Kyo-ahn appointed justices to the Constitutional Court. However, that was after the court ruled on the impeachment, confirming that President Park was not coming back to office. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
And the president has been served with a fresh summons by prosecutors for questioning on charges of insurrection. Our Moon Hae-ryun reports.
South Korean prosecutors investigating the December 3rd declaration of martial law have issued a second summons to President Yoon Suk-yeol, urging him to appear for questioning by December 21st. The summons was sent by the prosecution's special investigation team on Monday, but whether or not Yoon will comply is unclear. Last week, the prosecution made a formal request for Yoon to appear for questioning as a suspect on charges of insurrection and abuse of power. But this was declined by the president's legal representatives, who said that his legal team was not finalized. Should he fail to comply with the second summons, prosecutors will analyze his reasons for refusal and consider whether to issue another summons or seek a court-approved arrest warrant to secure his appearance. If he does comply, it would be the first time in South Korean history for a president to appear before prosecutors as a criminal suspect. The Joint Investigation Team, a collaboration between the National Police Agency Special Investigation Team, the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials, and the Criminal Investigation Command of the Defense Ministry, reported that a summons was sent via express mail to President Yoon's official residence on Tuesday morning. However, it went undelivered as the president refused to accept it and returned the package. It notifies Yoon of a request for him to appear at the CIO located in Kwaton City in Gyeonggi-do Province on Wednesday at 10 a.m. for questioning on accusations of insurrection and abuse of power. A summons also went undelivered the day before after security staff at the presidential office reportedly refused to accept it, giving the suspension of the president's duties as the reason, and the staff at his official residence refused to cooperate. The team attempted to conduct further raids of the President's Security Service Center on Tuesday, as reports indicated that the center's server contains encrypted records of phone calls between President Yoon and the National Police Agency Commissioner General on the day of the martial law declaration. Investigators obtained only a portion of materials through voluntary submission in a raid last week. With President Yoon hit with a summons from both the prosecution and the CIO, eyes are on which agency will get to investigate the sitting president. Some expect that Yoon would favor being questioned by prosecutors, having spent nearly 30 years as a prosecutor and even served as the prosecutor general. Others believe Yoon should be questioned by the CIO rather than face former subordinates from during his time at the prosecutor's office. The prosecution and police continue to pursue key figures involved in the martial law declaration. Former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun refused to appear for questioning, and attempts to forcibly bring him in failed, prompting the prosecution to extend the deadline for his detention by 11 days to the 28th. Former Special Warfare Commander Kwak Jong-un was arrested Monday, while an arrest warrant has been issued for Capital Defense Commander Lee Jin-woo. Suspended Army Chief of Staff General Park An-soo, who was named the martial law commander, was arrested on Tuesday after he reportedly decided to waive his pre-trial defense hearing, leaving the court to decide on his arrest based on submitted evidence. Police have also applied for an arrest warrant for former Commander Do Sang-won of the Defense Intelligence Command under charges of insurrection. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, ruling and opposition parties are engaged in a fresh war of words over prospects of filling constitutional court vacancies ahead of the court's ruling on the president's impeachment trial. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young explains.
Bipartisan tensions are escalating over the appointment of 3 vacant constitutional court justices for President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial. The disagreement focuses on whether acting President Han Duck-soo can make the appointments while President Yoon's duties are suspended following the passage of the impeachment motion. Ruling People Power Party acting chairman Kwon Sung-dong argued on Tuesday that currently appointing constitutional court justices is beyond the authority of an acting president.
The acting president can appoint constitutional court justices when the presidency is vacant, but not when the president's duties are suspended.
However, main opposition Democratic Party floor leader Park Chan-dae emphasized that Yoon's impeachment trial should proceed under a 9-member constitutional court. Park countered Kwon's remarks, saying there was no issue with the acting president making appointments as the assembly recommends the justices and the acting president only approves them.
Claiming that an acting president can't make appointments during the president's suspensions is mere wordplay. The PPP should stop delaying procedures and quickly agree to set a date for the confirmation hearings.
The court currently has only 6 justices, with 3 vacancies unfilled since October due to a failure by the rival parties to agree on appointments. In December, the DP proposed Jeong Kae-sun and Ma Eun-hyuk as candidates, while the PPP recommended Do Han-chang. The DP is pushing to hold confirmation hearings for these candidates at the National Assembly next Monday and Tuesday, aiming to pass a confirmation motion during a plenary session on December 30th. However, the PPP argues that no agreement has been reached between the parties on the matter. Currently, just 1 judge is needed to reject the impeachment. However, if the 3 new judges are appointed in time to review and rule, it will take 4 judges to dismiss the impeachment. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
Washington has reaffirmed its commitment to Seoul, adding that their alliance is not simply a partnership between their presidents, but also between the governments and people of the 2 countries. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung reports.
Washington says there has been no diminution in the South Korea-U.S. alliance after the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol. Those remarks were made by U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller during the press briefing on Monday. When asked if there will be a gap in U.S.-South Korea foreign policy and security, Miller said the alliance between Seoul and Washington is not just an alliance between presidents, but rather between governments and an alliance between peoples.
That alliance is not just an alliance between presidents, it is an alliance between governments and an alliance between peoples. And our commitment to that alliance remains ironclad.
Miller also mentioned how South Korea demonstrated its democratic resilience over the past few weeks. Seoul peacefully followed a process that was laid out by the Constitution, he said, and added the U.S. is ready to continue to work with the acting president and the South Korean government in the same way that it was acting and cooperating with President Yoon. Meanwhile, the UN said on Monday that it trusts the strength of South Korea's constitutional system in regard to the impeachment of Yoon. At a regular briefing at the UN headquarters in New York, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said that they witnessed that the declaration of martial law only lasted for a few hours, and how constitutional procedures are being carried out. Earlier on December 4th, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had commented on the declaration and subsequent lifting of martial law by President Yoon Suk-yeol, saying, "We welcome the lifting of martial law and are closely monitoring the situation." Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Acting President Han Duck-soo presided over his first cabinet meeting earlier on this Tuesday and pledged commitment to better supporting those in need. Our Oh Soo-young has more.
Acting President and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is pledging all governmental efforts towards reviving the local economy as he called for a swift budgetary execution for the new year. This came on Tuesday during Han's first cabinet meeting following the suspension of President Yoon Suk-yeol's executive powers, noting that while the country's broader financial and foreign exchange markets have been stabilizing gradually, small businesses and the self-employed are continuing to struggle. He called on the Finance Ministry to quickly complete its budgetary allocation so that next year's finances can be executed on the first day of the new year. He requested all available resources, including national finances, public institutions, and private investments, to be directed towards execution in the first half of 2025.
In particular, I urge that special attention be given to the swift execution of budgets aimed at easing the livelihood burdens of working people, protecting vulnerable groups, supporting small businesses, and fostering advanced industries to invigorate the economy for South Korea's future.
He also asked relevant ministries to prepare effective measures for the 2025 economic policy direction and to actively heed the voices of small firms. Han further said the National Assembly should ensure the swift passage of laws directly related to business investment, such as special acts on nurturing the semiconductor industry and artificial intelligence. Amid concerns that the country's leadership in limbo would constrain its diplomatic outreach, the acting president also placed emphasis on South Korea's foreign relations. Han said he assured US President Joe Biden that South Korea would continue to strengthen the bilateral alliance and that the country's governance will adhere to laws and the constitution. The two leaders held a phone call on Sunday, less than 12 hours after Han assumed duties as the interim head of state. Biden reportedly praised the resilience of Korean democracy, affirming that the solid South Korea-U.S. alliance remains unchanged. The acting president did not introduce a motion to veto a series of bills put forward by the opposition-held parliament, including the Grain Management Act, but is expected to do so later this week in a special cabinet session. Han is aiming to promote better relations between parliament and both the ruling and opposition parties in order to stabilize the state of national affairs. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
South Korea has blacklisted more North Korean as well as Russian individuals and institutions that have violated numerous UN Security Council resolutions. Our foreign affairs correspondent Pei Eun-ji has details.
3 North Korean military officials and 1 missile developer believed to have been deployed to Russia in support of the Ukraine war have been newly added to South Korea's list of sanctions against North Korea. They include Kim Yong-bok, Deputy Chief of the General Staff of the Korean People's Army, and Shin Kim-chul, Director of its Operations Bureau. 7 other Russian individuals and 15 entities, mostly Russian, were also put on the list.
Our government has imposed sanctions on 11 individuals and 15 entities involved in procuring funds and materials for North Korea's nuclear and missile programs and military cooperation between Russia and North Korea, which is a violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions.
Also on Tuesday, the foreign ministers of 10 countries, including South Korea, the U.S., and Japan, as well as the High Representative of the European Union, issued a joint statement, saying that they condemn military cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow in the strongest possible terms. The top diplomats reaffirmed their commitment to supporting Ukraine while urging Russia to immediately end its war of aggression. Meanwhile, the White House has confirmed that a number of North Korean troops deployed to assist Russia's war efforts have been killed in action. The U.S. National Security Council spokesperson on Monday said it now believes North Korean troops are on the front lines of the war and that they're actively engaged in combat operations, but did not say the actual number of North Korean casualties.
But we do believe that they have suffered some significant losses, killed and wounded. But it's difficult for me to put an actual number on it. I would say certainly in the realm of dozens, several dozens.
The comments come as Ukraine's intelligence officials have said around 30 North Korean soldiers were killed or wounded so far during a battle with the Ukrainian forces over the weekend. 배은지, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated former investment banker and diplomat George Klaus as the next U.S. ambassador to Japan. The nomination was shared in a post on his Truth Social network in which Mr. Trump claimed Klaus would serve to place priority on America. Under the first Trump administration, Klaus served as U.S. ambassador to Portugal. He is also known for his tough stance on China. K-pop girl group Twice has yet again secured a spot within the top 10 of Billboard's main albums chart. The group's latest EP, Strategy, ranked 4th in the Billboard 200 chart. This fresh ranking marks the 6th time in a row that Twice has had an album rank among the top 10. And Twice now holds the record for the most top 10 EPs among K-pop girl groups. Twice topped the Billboard 200 for the first time earlier this year with the EP With Youth.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. A shooting took place at the Abundant Life Christian School in Wisconsin on Monday morning, where police say that a teacher and a teenage student were killed and 6 others injured. The suspect, also a student at the school, was found dead when the police arrived. Now, Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes said that they received the call of an active shooter at the Wisconsin school at 10:57 on Monday morning local time, and that they found multiple victims suffering from gunshot wounds upon arrival. Among the 6 injured, 2 reportedly have life-threatening injuries. Barnes added that a handgun was recovered from the scene and no police officers had to fire their weapons. While police declined to provide additional information on the shooter, CNN reported that a law enforcement source confirmed that the suspect was a female. Authorities say that the motive for the shooting is yet to be identified and that the suspect's family is cooperating with the investigation. According to CNN, Monday's incident is at least the 83rd school shooting of 2024, the most school shootings in a single year since 2008. Moving over to Germany, the country's Chancellor Olaf Scholz has lost a vote of confidence in Parliament on Monday, paving the way for early elections at the end of February. Germany's Parliament, the Bundestag, voted 207 for Scholz and 394 against, while 116 abstained. Following the collapse of Scholz's 3-party coalition government last month, the German Chancellor expected to lose Monday's vote. This will lead to early elections in February 23rd, rather than in September as originally planned. Now, Scholz said ahead of Monday's vote that it is now up to the voters to determine the political course of our country, expressing an eagerness for the snap elections. He had been running a lame duck government after the Free Democrats left the coalition over a budget dispute, leaving the Greens and his Social Democratic Party with a minority government. The cryptocurrency Bitcoin surpassed $107,000 at a point on Monday US Eastern Time, according to CoinGecko, setting a new record high. The surge came shortly after US President-elect Donald Trump reiterated his plans to create a US Bitcoin strategic reserve, a tactical storage of the cryptocurrency similar to that of its strategic petroleum reserve. Now, the global head of technology research at Wedbush Securities called it a new golden age for Bitcoin, saying that Trump's deregulatory environment is a huge positive for the cryptocurrency market. A Chinese businessman accused of spying for the Chinese Communist Party in the UK has been identified as Yang Tengbo. Yang, who the UK Home Office said was likely to pose a threat to UK national security, is under suspicion of engaging in covert and deceptive activity for the United Front Work Department, an arm of the Chinese Communist Party state apparatus. Yang was banned from entering the UK in 2023, with the ban upheld by UK's National Security Court last week. According to a High Court judge, Yang had formed an unusual degree of trust with the UK's Prince Andrew, who had authorized an international financial initiative to engage with potential Chinese investors and partners. Now Yang has denied all accusations in a statement issued by his lawyers. Kim Xiang, Arirang News.
As the cold winds strengthened, the feels-like temperatures stayed below zero throughout the day today. Tomorrow will be the coldest day of this winter so far, with temperatures plunging to -6 degrees Celsius in the morning in Seoul. A cold wave warning will be issued for northern parts of Gyeonggi-do Province and western parts of Gangwon-do Province. Rain or snow will begin tonight on Jeju Island, the west coast areas of Chungcheongnam-do Province, and the western parts of the Jeollado provinces. Up to 5 to 10 centimeters of snow will accumulate by tomorrow afternoon. With frigid air, heavy snow of up to 10 centimeters is expected in east coast areas tomorrow night. Tomorrow, many areas will have a frigid morning. Daejeon -4 degrees, Gyeongju -3. Highs in Seoul will only move up to 1 degree, Gwangju 3 degrees. Frigid winter conditions will continue with snow in some areas this whole week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, and today we touch upon the diplomatic implications of the political fallout here. Do stay with us.